for the Iron Man match, I was worried about Sean. Sean had a lot of heat in the dressing room with a lot of guys. Not everybody. And I always got along pretty good with Sean. I mean, we really got along. We're always friends, and I was always respected his work and everything. So, and it's like Sean's the new upcoming sort of star coming up, and I knew what they wanted, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, and I just remember when Sean first heard he was going to win the title from me at WrestleMania. I was in a town called I can't remember, somewhere in Pennsylvania, anywhere, but Penn State, State College, Pennsylvania. That's where I was, and Sean told me, I got the news that Sean they were putting the belt on him at WrestleMania, and I had no problems with any of it. I never ever had a problem, contrary to any here, about winning or losing to anybody ever, except for Sean at WrestleMania. But or not, sorry, at the Survivor Series. I never had any problem losing to him at WrestleMania ever, and it was always mapped out way in advance that was what they were going to do. But I remember Sean said to me, because at the time in the dressing room there was a lot of the wrestlers were talking about the Clique, which was Sean, Razor, Kevin Nash, 1-2-3 Kid, and Triple H, and they were all hanging out together. They all rode together, and I can remember myself where Sean pulled me aside. They pulled me aside on a European trip where they said, "We want to take over. We want to take over everything. We're going to take over control of the whole company, and we're going to form a clique. And we want you to be the head guy in the clique," because I was champion then. "We want you to be the head of the clique." And I said, I remember talking to him, I said, "A clique?" I said, you're basically just going to work with each other, right? And he's like, that was what the clique was all about, is that Scott Hall would wrestle Sean, and Kevin Nash would wrestle Triple H, and they would all work with each other and take all the titles and all the main spots. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Razor was Intercontinental Champion then. But I don't know if they were saying all this stuff to kind of wind me up. But I remember saying, well, that's not really fair to guys like, how does that work for Savio Vega or somebody else that doesn't get a title shot ever, just because they're not in your little group of friends? You're like, you guys, you decide who works with who and what's going on. So I always said, I really don't want to be part of any clique or group that does that. I said, it doesn't seem like the right way to do business. So I kind of stepped back from it. I remember when Sean told me that he was winning the title and that he just got the word that's what they were doing at WrestleMania. I was like pretty fine. I was okay with it. Everybody goes, "I can't wait till I get the belt. First thing I'm going to work with is Scott Hall. I'm going to work with Razor, and then I'm going to work with Kevin, and then I'm going to work with Triple H." Or anyway, he had it all mapped out for all his. And like I say, if you're the main event, if you're the world champion, the guy you work with gets the same pay as you every night. That's the joy of working with the world champion, is you get the highest pay, the same as him. I think it's identical. Like whatever I got paid, Yokozuna would get paid the same, or whenever I was champion. So Sean was basically told me that he was going to work with all his friends right after he won the belt. And I just thought that sounded such that's no way to, like, it's not fair to the other wrestlers to do that. And but I didn't say anything. It's like, it's out of my control. I mean, I can't control it. As that built up over the next 2 or 3 months, that was probably, I'm guessing, like January or something like that. And we got closer to WrestleMania. I just noticed that Vince did everything he could do to kind of kill me off. I basically was holding the belt just to hand it to Sean. They had me win the belt from Kevin Nash at Survivor Series, and almost like within a few weeks, I remember like I won the title, and the next day they didn't even have me. I didn't even have a promo. I didn't go out and even have a moment where I'm the new champion and celebrate the moment that I finally got the belt back, kind of thing. It was like No, it was all about Sean. If you remember, Sean got a kick in the head from my brother Owen, and they took him out on a stretcher. Sean went home, had 3 months off, and to get ready for an Ironman match. So all he did was train, run this. You see him running up the stadium steps and all that stuff. I can remember being just running me into the ground. I wrestled every day for the next 3 months. Most of the time, I noticed when I was in India, we were wrestling in India, and everyone got sick, and everyone was sick. I remember the same time I was sitting on a toilet and throwing up in the sink at the same time. I think in violent. I remember thinking of a flashback in my head is like, I'm wrestling Shawn Michaels for an hour in about 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. I remember thinking, it's not going to happen. And I was wrestling Kevin Nash, Yokozuna, and Undertaker, give or take, every other night. So when you're wrestling guys like that, there's very little cardio. You're not doing a lot of running around. You're mostly just getting picked up and thrown down and slammed to the ground. So I'm getting beat up every night. When you've been, power bombed by a guy 6'8", that's a long fall on your back. And the power bomb, there's nothing pretend about it. Some moves are totally real. That one is like, I wish it was fake. I wish body slams were fake. They hurt. And I remember being really just pounded into the ground and just going, there's no way I can do an hour match with a guy that's sitting at home doing that, running up stadium steps and all the stuff that Sean was doing. I said, they've given him a paid 3 months vacation and they're running me into the ground. And I realized, I said, they're running me into the ground because they want it to work. Because every time they beat me with Yoko and then Hogan. I always thought it was like pink and black. They paint over the pink and black with yellow and red. And like a few weeks later, it's the pink and black just came back out. And they couldn't paint over it. And then it was a couple of years later, or a year later, they decided to make Kevin Nash the new star. Way too early for him. He wasn't ready to be champion. Wasn't good enough to be champion at that time. But they silver and black, new guy, Bret Hart out of the way, Kevin Nash, and that didn't work. And right away, it's like, quick, get Bret back in, and they put me back in. It's like, so and now it's with Sean, and it's like, this time it has to work. We have to make sure that Bret Hart doesn't stay over, isn't more popular going into this match than Sean. So they really just cut my power. And I said, this is a setup. Sean is going to show up in WrestleMania. He's going to be in such good shape. And Sean's a great wrestler. And I would have, no matter what kind of shape I was in, I would have tried to have a great match with him. But to go an hour with Sean, the kind of pace that Sean and me would have had was going to be a real challenge to me. And I said, I think what they're trying to do is they want Sean to be picking me up off the mat for like 30, 40-minute mark where I'm like gassed and my tongue's hanging out and Sean's eating me up for the match. They want people to go, look how good Sean is and look how tired and old Bret Hart looks. And I think it was a set plan. And I could feel it leading into WrestleMania that they're just running me into the ground and they want me to show up that day and I'm just not going to be prepared. And it'll be clear to all the fans that, yes, we finally have a new champion. And I was like, not if I can help it. And so I sensed that was what was going on. So I started really working on my cardio every day. Before I wrestled, I would go to the gyms and I would do cardio and I would just push myself so hard. And luckily for me, I was having a lot of triple threat matches where, it seems like two guys are wrestling, then one guy can fall asleep under the corner and catch some disease. And you could always rest up in those triple threat matches. They weren't too hard on you. But I got myself ready for that match. Really, really trained and really showed up that day. And I think it was maybe the best match I ever had. I think it's hard for me to say these things without sounding like a jerk. But I've always said, like, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels was you always, with most wrestlers, you always say it was a 50-50 match, like 50-50 input. But I can say now, with all honesty, when I watch it back in slow motion, and if we had it on a big screen here, I could sit with y'all and watch the Iron Man match and go, this idea is not mine. This is Shawn's idea. And then, this is I could tell you what parts of the match are mine. And without tooting my own horn, all the best parts of that match are mine.